The thick fog clung to the trees of Cannock Chase as Daniel and his girlfriend, Sophie, set up their tent beneath the sprawling branches. It was a quiet night in Staffordshire, England, too quiet. The usual rustling of woodland creatures was absent, replaced by an eerie stillness that neither of them could quite explain. Daniel had heard the local tales before. Stories of black-eyed children who wandered the woods, appearing suddenly to lone travelers, their soulless eyes fixed in an unblinking stare. He never believed in such things, dismissing them as folklore designed to spook the locals. Sophie, however, had grown up hearing these stories from her grandmother, who had always warned her never to go into the forest alone. As the fire crackled and they sat together sharing whispered jokes, an unnatural giggle echoed through the trees. Sophie stiffened. "Did you hear that?" she asked. Daniel turned, scanning the darkness, but saw nothing. "Probably just a fox," he muttered, though the uncertainty in his voice betrayed him. The giggle came again, closer this time, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps crunching over dried leaves. Sophie reached for Daniel's arm. "Someone's out there," she whispered. Determined to prove there was nothing to fear, Daniel grabbed his flashlight and unzipped the tent. The beam of light sliced through the thick air, revealing only mist and gnarled trees. But then, just beyond the glow, something moved. A small figure stood at the edge of the clearing, barely visible in the dim light. A girl. Her dress looked old-fashioned, tattered at the edges as if she had been wandering for years. Her skin was pale, too pale, and when she lifted her face toward them, Sophie gasped. Her eyes, black as coal, void of reflection or emotion. They were like empty sockets, swallowing all light around them. Daniel felt his breath catch in his throat. The girl took a step forward, then another. Her movements were unnatural, gliding rather than walking. Sophie clutched Daniel's hand. "We need to go," she urged. But Daniel couldn't move. The girl stopped a few feet away, tilting her head in a disturbingly mechanical motion. "Help me," she whispered. Her voice was soft, childlike, but something about it sent a chill down Daniel's spine. "No," Sophie breathed. "No, we have to go now." She pulled Daniel back into the tent, yanking the zipper shut. The giggling resumed outside, circling them, moving impossibly fast from one side of the tent to the other. Then silence. The next morning, when the sun had finally driven away the fog, Daniel and Sophie cautiously emerged from the tent. The woods were still. The fire had burned down to embers. But what truly terrified them was what they found around their campsite. Small piles of stones, evenly spaced, forming a perfect circle around their tent. As if something, or someone, had watched them all night, leaving a warning. Daniel never spoke of that night again. Sophie refused to return to Cannock Chase. But the legend persisted, growing stronger with each new sighting, each new whisper in the dark. For in the woods of Staffordshire, the black-eyed children still roam, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to cross their path.